In addition to voting rights, Texas lawmakers are set to tackle a number of so-called culture war issues in their special legislative session. Republican Governor Greg Abbott announced 11 issues that they plan to take up. That includes banning critical race theory in schools and blocking transgender athletes from competing on teams matching their gender identity. For more on this, let's bring in Renuka Rayasam. She covers Texas politics, policy, and healthcare for Politico, and she's also the author of the Politico nightly newsletter. Renuka, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate your time. So tell us more about the special session. How is it kind of a testing ground for Republican messaging ahead of the midterms?
Yes, this is very much a messaging session for Republican lawmakers. So Governor Greg Abbott, only the governor can call a special session in Texas, and he is facing a number of primary challengers in the Republican primary next year. And what you're seeing in this session is it includes this elections bill that didn't get passed in the regular session, but also just a number of these culture war issues that you listed out. For example, this critical race theory bill. Texas already passed a bill that limits what teachers can teach in schools about race. And so they're coming back for a second bite of that. And it's hard to imagine what more they could do. And so they're looking at a number of those type of issues. Another one that lawmakers are being tasked to deal with this special session is banning transgender girls from participating in school sports. But Abbott has already also included a couple of items to that are carrots for Democrats. There's also a bill that would provide an extra paycheck a year for teachers, something that Democrats had wanted to pass during the regular session. And of course, one of the biggest tools that Abbott has in his toolbox to strong-arm lawmakers is that he vetoed funding for the legislature, which means that staff and other people who work for the legislature can't get paid if lawmakers don't come back and approve that budget and the governor doesn't sign it.
So a lot of items on that agenda. I want to focus too on this, revival of that election bill. And I think people might remember that when Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick famously offered $1 million to anybody who could provide evidence of voter fraud. First of all, did any of that ever come to light, or has Governor Abbott said why he declared election reform as an emergency item?
So, obviously, ever since Trump lost the 2020 election, this has been just a huge driving force in the GOP across the country. And we're seeing this even in voters where Trump won, in Ohio and places like that, in Texas where Trump won. You're still seeing this issue become a rallying cry for the GOP because Trump has set the agenda on this issue. And so there hasn't been evidence of widespread voter fraud in Texas. That hasn't materialized. Pretty sure Dan Patrick kept his $1 million, and so there isn't that kind of evidence right now. But I interviewed Governor Abbott a couple of weeks ago in his office at the Capitol. I asked him flat out, "Do you think Biden won the election?" And he gave me sort of a non-committal answer, and his answer was that he said he abides by the courts, which meant I guess in a way that he thinks Biden won the election, but didn't want to come out and say that for fear of upsetting Trump.
Yeah, it's such a fascinating dynamic that we're seeing across the country, and another reason that Texas is really at the center of all of these Republican-based issues. The Conservative Political Action Conference, known as CPAC, starts in Dallas on Friday. Can you tell us how it ended up coming to Texas, and what might we expect from that gathering?
Well, Trump is. The CPAC has been in Florida this year, in Orlando, and Texas is just a natural place for that. And Texas has been very, very good to former President Trump in a lot of ways. And you're going to see a lot of conservatives from around the country gather in Dallas. Former President Trump will be there. You have South Carolina Governor Kristi Noem will be there. You have a lot of Republican politicians in Texas that will be there, notably Allen West, who is going to challenge Abbott in the Republican primary next year for governor. But also what's notable is who isn't going to be there. Governor Greg Abbott's not going to be there. He said, his office told me today that he's too busy with the special session to attend. And Senator Ted Cruz isn't going to be there. He spoke in Orlando earlier this year at CPAC there, but he's cited family reasons for the reason that he's not speaking in Dallas this weekend.
And I want to ask you a little bit more about Greg Abbott and some of these political dynamics, because he's up for re-election next year, and he's already facing 3 primary challengers. Do any pose a significant threat, and what other political ambitions might the governor have?
No, I mean, Governor is incredibly popular among Republican primary voters. He announced today that he's got $55 million in the bank. I mean, that's an enormous sum of money for Texas governor, more than he's ever had before, and he's already a really formidable fundraiser. And so, yes, he's facing 3 primary challengers, but his popularity among Republican primary voters hovers around 80%. Democrats haven't announced any strong candidates yet that they've put forward. I mean, I've talked to some folks on the Democratic side, and they said the person who runs has got to be somebody who's got nothing to lose by running, which means that they're going to see who draws the short stick. They don't want to put someone out there with a bright political future to lose to Greg Abbott, because he's so formidable right now. And obviously there's a lot that could happen between now and next November, but it's really hard to see how he can lose with $55 million in the bank. He's fashioned himself as this conservative culture warrior, which will definitely help him in the Republican primary next year. And as far as the general election goes, Governor Abbott has won his past 2 general election challenges as governor by wide margins. And so, never say never, but he's definitely the favorite going into November next year.
Yeah, a lot of money in the bank, and given that he's focusing on these issues in the special session, of course, raises the question of whether he might be a 2024 contender on the national stage. So, Renuka Rayasam, I'm sure we'll be talking to you a lot as all of this news comes out of Texas. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.